established forum. This is November Augusta First School Board meeting. Welcome everyone. At this point, I need a motion for approval of the open session agenda. Motion second, all in favor? Carried. And now I need a motion for approval of the consent agenda item.
So moved.
Motion and second. Thank you. Communication and reports.
Yes, we have some communication. Dear Board of Education, my family would like to say thank you for the plant that was sent to my dad's funeral from the Terrell family and Miss Tammy. And we have an invitation to Lex LaRay's Area Administrator and School Board Appreciation Dinner on this 11th. So if anybody wants to go, I guess, get a hold of Janet, John, or you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Yep, at 6 o'clock at night at Lexington.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
John, any public comment?
No, no request for signature.
Making a difference recognition?
Yeah, is Ms. Sanders here? Okay, so I'd like to congratulate High School Counseling Office Administrative Assistant Lori Sanders, has been chosen as the November Making a Difference Award winner for the district. Her peers had the following comments. She's always willing to help others do anything from registering new students to showing how to create reports. She's always very positive with students and staff. Regularly develops and shares how-to instructions and best practices with staff members, and often tries to resolve problems before they become problems. We did recognize her at a faculty meeting with the high school staff, and also recognized her on social media. So, congratulations to Ms. Sanders.
Community Champion Award.
Yeah, I know these ladies, some of them are here, but ladies from CERC would come forward. Congratulations to CERC Physical Therapy. They have been chosen as the November Community Champion for the district. The district has partnered with CERC for several years to provide certified athletic trainer for our athletes. For the last several years, Mackenzie McInturf has been that trainer to work with our student athletes. And on behalf of the district, we want to thank CERC for everything that they do and being the community champion for the school. Thank you, ladies.
Academic focus.
All right, my troops, let's go. You can just stand up. All right, crowd. All right, we are super excited to have some of our 8th grade algebra students here this evening. So as you guys know, 8th grade algebra is a high school level class, and it happens at the middle school level, so we appreciate the board continuing to allow that support of having that high school class at the 8th grade level. Super proud of our program overall. We have a rich history of the middle school, the algebra class performing on the EOC, which is the end of course exam. The majority of the kiddos are either advanced or proficient. We do have, every once in a while we have a few kiddos that score basic or below basic, but the majority of the kids in 8th grade are scoring advanced or proficient, which is amazing as 8th graders. There are 3 kind of factors that I feel like really contribute to the success of our program at the middle school level. One of them is the 80-minute classes, so they have 80 minutes to have extra instruction. They have extra time with their teachers. They have independent practice time. They have no cell phones in class, which you guys absolutely love, right? Yeah. Yes, Mrs. Melizzi. And then the third factor is just our tradition of teachers. We've had really awesome algebra teachers, past and present. Mr. Roulard is in his 3rd year of teaching algebra at the middle school, and so he's done an outstanding job of providing dynamic learning opportunities for these high achievers.
All right, so thank you for having us. Kind of touch on what she spoke about. So when I took over 2 years ago at OMS, It was new to me, so I followed the high school syllabus pretty closely. Students did great, 93% advanced proficient that first year. Most of those were proficient. Last year, I realized I had highly motivated students. Like Ms. Melizzi said, we had those 80-minute blocks as opposed to 40-minute classes at the high school. So that being said, I threw a bunch of stuff at the wall to see what would stick, and those kids stuck the landing. We had 93% advanced proficient, but 3 times as many advanced last year. So I'm going to turn it over to my students now, and they're going to talk about some of the stuff that we do maybe a little bit differently, because we like to mix it up. So I'm going to throw it over to Silas to get us going.
I'll be talking about like the warm-ups that we do before we actually get started with the class. There's usually only 10 to 15 minutes of the class, and since it's our lunch block most of the time, it just spills in that it's a good time to fill in the time before we get in class and for lunch. So it just like warms up our brains. Usually it's just math and logic puzzles. Mr. Lard doesn't usually know the answer. It's just about how we got there and work on our brains. He will reward creativity.
Today I'm going to be talking about boards. To start off, boards are random groups that Mr. O'Lard makes. Mr. O'Lard makes this fair by using cards, and whichever card you get is the board you go to. There's usually two to three people at each board. Boards have a huge impact on our math class. I think my class personally loves boards because it gives us opportunities to interact with friends and learn new things. When we do boards, all members must know how to explain the topic to Mr. O'Lard. In boards, there's no such thing as cheating. We just borrow information. Boards is my favorite thing about algebra, and I honestly love having this experience and learning these skills.
I'll be talking about Desmos. It is a computer resource we use in class. Sometimes we have slideshows on there that Mr. Lard can either open up all the way for us to use, or we can go as a class and all work together for it. And when doing it as a class, you can show our answers on the board because it has a resource on there which can change your name to a mathematician or a scientist, so they can't copy your answers, and if you're wrong, there's no true hard feelings, anyone messing with you for the wrong answer. We do use it on the state test. It's already on the EOC and stuff, and we can use it on there. It's good practice, and we learn how to use the Kraken calculator in class for the test. We have games on there that we can sometimes do, and he's created one using Kraken where we have to get all the stars by using the right graphs. And that's about it.
Slides. Slides typically give me no enjoyment or interest, and I typically find them pretty boring. But in Mr. O'Lar's class, they are typically fun, engaging, and honestly not boring like most other classes. Typically I'll do slides, write our problems down on our desk, and solve them together. And this is a fun, engaging way to learn our new material. While we are learning our new material, this is a perfect time to ask questions if you may not understand what's going on. Sometimes algebra can be confusing, so slides also give us a visual representation of what's going on, so Mr. O'Lar can break it down. We also have notebooks. Notebooks can be extremely helpful, especially on tests. We take our notes, and this can help us process and engage with the material and reinforce the information and help us remember it. Note taking also helps reduce the cognitive load. Writing notes allows us to offload the information, allowing us to focus on other things that may be more important. This brings me to my final point. Sometimes math can be confusing and have a lot of steps. So we can write step-by-step breakdowns on our notebook and use it on our tests to help us remember how to do it.
For many students alike across the globe, learning math can be frustrating and challenging due to its many aspects and rules. One thing that personally makes me upset is when I see low grade, which makes me feel really bad. It makes me feel disappointed. Using quizzes, using this virtual website called Quizzes, it gives you an assignment and it gives you points based on how many correct answers you get, but those points don't directly affect your grade. Mr. Allard utilizes this to help us study for many tests, assignments, and just general learning new aspects of math. And it also just helps me build up my courage and the ability to answer questions questions correctly. On this app, there's a mastery goal, which makes it so that you don't have to get 100% of them right, but it still pushes you to get most of the answers correct. After you've completed an assignment on this website, you can go back and look at the answers to see which ones you have gotten correct and which ones are wrong, which allows you to go back and reflect on your answers and learn from them.
I'm talking about Alex, which is another one of our computer programs that we use pretty much on the daily. We have these things called Check Your Understanding. It is a great way for us to understand where we're at and how we can improve. We can also see what we are doing and how we are doing on these assignments. Each assignment that we have is usually between 10 and 20 questions, with the rare exception of being more or less, depending on what we're doing that day. You get 3 attempts per question regarding whether you get it right on the first try, or second try, or third try. If you get it wrong on the third try, you have the option to try another, which gives you pretty much the exact same question, just with slightly different numbers and maybe a few other words. Another thing we do is Alex Path, which is very much like our I-Ready lessons. It helps us learn how to do things easier and better than I-Ready does, according to many people. A lot of kids just find it a lot easier and a lot quicker to use, and actually tends to help us learn things. With that, I'm gonna end our conversation.
Good job.
All right, good job, guys.
I like the part, kind of like you let them use notes. They take good notes and use them on tests.
Yeah, and one of the things, and I've got small notebooks this year that they can fit in their computer bags, and I tell them, like, this is for you, right? It's not, they're not for me.
Yep.
So I guide them, and sometimes they have to put examples. I told my students, my 3 top students last year couldn't be different from each other, couldn't be any more different from each other. One of them meticulous notes, one of them half and half, one of them I never saw him pick up a pencil. But they were my 3 top scorers on the EOC. So I tell my students, like, you learn the way you learn, I'm here to guide you in the way you're learning it. So
I appreciate the collaboration, because we all know that working in isolation is not a professional skill set, right? So grow that. It's a great skill.
Is that the boards that you were talking about that were going to collaborate?
There's no, who said no cheating, there's just borrowing. And I love that.
yeah, that's good. Transfer of knowledge.
Transfer of knowledge, I like it.
I like the church.
You may not try that in ELA, you may get in trouble.
Getting under sea.
You guys are being well prepared for high school. That's where we're pushing to get from. It's great.
Now, one question. Do you guys all like all forms of math or just algebra? Do you like geometry? All forms? Very good. Geometry was easy for me. Algebra, not so much. But if you're really into math, I think it all goes together. Yeah, you start adding letters.
Yeah, I prefer geometry too. That's why I think I'm good at teaching algebra. Kids, when they say I hate slope, I'm like, I hate slope too. You gotta teach it to you.
If you think showing your work matters, wait till you start doing proofs. Good job.
Thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you all.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Good job.
Up next is our finance report.
Yep. Just have a quick update this month for you guys. We have received an interest payment for one of our CD investments in late October. The amount of that interest was on the $500,000 CD in the amount of $13,160.96, which brings that current amount on that CD to $513,160.96. The district still remains to have 5 active CD investments with the Bank of Odessa. The district is the beginning stages of working with the Health Insurance Consortium, MET, to process payments electronically.
We will work with more details and implementation dates after the February Bookkeepers Conference.
Next is the maintenance report.
I'll just hit on a few of the bigger items. One thing scheduled for the coming week is intercom replacement at the middle school. We had an issue with the recent power outage, so we're getting a new intercom system at the middle school. They're not sad about that. But they're supposed to be here next week. Sidewalks over around the district, we're still awaiting a report from KTI on that. They should be nearing completion. Couple things Mike's got in progress, continuing to work on exterior lighting around the district, still continuing with work orders, both current ones and backlog ones, getting them into the new system and getting those completed. A repeater, we had a repeater that's 25 years old for our custodial maintenance administrator radios, so that's being updated. Actually, there might be one over there now. A loaner until they can get the actual unit up. So that, we're working on that. A couple things coming up is new flooring down at the Early Childhood Center. We'll be winterizing the athletic complex buildings in one of those seasons. The athletic complex soon, and the football stadium when that's complete. And then we've got a grease trap replacement, which will be costly at the middle school and where it's way capacity.
Mike, ever look at maybe just being able to put regular lights in and some of those exterior lighting?
Some, yes. He has to replace all the wall packs. We do have some walls that fit
Okay.
existing, yeah. Without breaking walls.
Thank you, Roger. Superintendent's report.
Yeah, the building administrator reports are in your packet for your review. I want to point out that next week is American Education Week, and I want to thank all of our teachers, support staff, and administrators for everything that they do for our students. And our staff is a passion for creating a bright future for all of our students, and I want to thank them for everything that they do. Sign up for school board is coming up in the next few weeks for the April 8th election. There are 2 positions that will be on the ballot, Chad Hubbard and Brad McLaughlin, who have completed the most recent 3-year terms. First day of filing is December 10th at 8 a.m. Last day is December 31st at 5 p.m. Filing hours are 8 to 4:30 on days school is in session. The location is at the central office. Requirements include you must be a U.S. citizen, 24 years of age, a resident taxpayer of the school district with no delinquent tax receipts, a resident of Missouri for at least 1 year prior to the election, not registered and or required to register as a sex offender, and then completion of 18 and a half instructional hours of board training within the first year of service. That's all we got.
Moving on down to discussion items, the first of which is the interlocal purchasing system. Is that right?
Yes, so just a little bit of information about this. We're just have joined with TIPS, better known as TIPS. So the interlocal purchasing system is a group. It started in Texas in 2002, and it's now a nationwide program. So it oversees and awards bids for a variety of government agencies, which includes public schools. So by utilizing this TIPS purchasing co-op, school districts are able to operate more efficiently, more effectively. They have contracts awarded for a variety of jobs where you could go to the TIPS. They have gone through the competitive bidding procedures and processes that are required of us by law. So we're able to make purchases and have contracts through them as opposed to taking some time to just bid every year. So that's something that we will hopefully be utilizing in the near future with some projects.
And that's based on, they have the bid from the state, Missouri, to meet specific
So
state.
they can do things out of state as well. Like, for example, we're looking at copy paper. So we got on this site, I put in copy paper, that gave me 5 vendors. I emailed them copy. We had 5 bids for $20,000 of paper in 2 days instead of having to, because they've already gone through that competitive process. But that'd be, if we're paper to equipment, field turf, things like that are all part of that process. No, it didn't. It's all free. I've talked to her, I emailed with our regional person once, just to kind of get a better understanding of the processes.
And this is all optional, we're not guaranteeing that we'll use someone from this.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can use.
So if we have
vendor if we wanted to.
a project that we know there's several local companies that provide great product or great service. we're just gonna have to advertise like we always do. Yeah, so we have.
So will this come back with action or no action needed?
No action is needed. This is just information because when we start looking at these capital projects, improvements that he's gonna talk about now, there's the possibility of utilizing this program for some of those purchases or at least consideration.
Any more questions on that? Capital improvements.
All right, so a few things that we talked about last month as well that are coming to fruition. Upper elementary parking lot with the mill and overlay, and then part of it, a more closeout replacement too. I included in your packet a map of suggested areas for each of those. And this is what, I had a local company come out and help me look at the parking lot and what they felt like was needed to develop these 4 items that would be used or could be used in upcoming bid. So looking to put this information out there and hopefully have numbers back and maybe we'll leave the bid back for next month so we can get on some schedule for the upcoming summer for the month. The high school and middle school roofs, that roof report is included in your packet also. So that Trimco came out and did this just like they did back in '21 and have updated recommendations. They've looked over what they did before, how those roofs are holding up to now. So the most pressing ones would be the 2 remaining areas at the middle school and then 2 more areas at the high school. And those were the 25 to 26 range. So looking at those for the June of 26 would be our goal for those projects because you're looking at about $1 million at the middle school and about $400,000 on this building for those 2 projects. The high school gym floor, that's scheduled and ready to be done. Administration's working with the company on design, so we're going to get those design options and put those units as well. What gets painted, what gets stained, what logos. Baseball and softball turf. Worked with an area turf professional. Still waiting on specific pricing on those. We should have softball pricing by the end of the month, this month, to come back, share some numbers with you. There's been discussion about baseball, softball combination, and looking at pricing of that. If you do a combo, you're looking at a lot more work with fences, more plays, those kind of things. So it looks like it would likely be more cost effective if we do baseball like it is, and then we'd be able to actually turf softball, infield softball for cheaper than baseball combo. So those are the options he's putting in there for us to have in station.
Did they look at the outfields to just make sure that there was no problems with drainage or anything else when they were out there?
We didn't look specifically. We've done some drainage work on baseball in the last few years. We did have some issues right before the contract on baseball. We did some work for that 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
I didn't hear these problems.
Okay. I mean, it might be worth just having them look at it, just make sure that it's all good. You know,
Yeah,
if
as well, we've got
we're
this
doing it,
tore up.
yeah, we might as well make sure it's all.
Is that a June item as well?
Hoping to do those this year.
What was the duration we were thinking that would take?
Sorry.
Turf, what was the duration? What would it take to do this?
I think it was about a month, if I remember right. But that was the conversation we had about baseball. That wasn't the conversation about having two separate. That was more of a conversation.
We'll be able to update you on timeframe when we can get more specifics.
And we would be able to, yeah, when we get more information, for sure, we can start softball. School would have to have softball, baseball season's going on. So we can get softball season.
They do, but we just have to coordinate them so they were aware.
And then the last thing is the track resurfacing. We've been out there on the track, it's time, we've had a normal thing every several years, so you don't get down to that base layer, no issues with that. Again, been working with a track professional on that. We don't have specific design yet, but looking at this summer for that project as well. It's resurfacing Main Street. Some tracks they just exchange them. They've all had things we had talked
That does it for capital improvements. The next thing was the school year calendar, 2025-26.
Yeah, the two school calendars provided were developed with input from staff. As previously mentioned, we sent out the calendar requirements and blank calendar to all staff, asking for their input in developing a calendar. The following options were developed using that input. After tonight, those will be sent out to all staff for voting. They'll have from tomorrow until November 22nd to vote for one option. Whichever calendar receives the most votes will be brought back to the board for a first reading in December and approval in April.
We kind of discussed, you do provide some criteria for these, so just teachers picking
Yeah, we provided all the criteria that they, the same criteria that we work through.
not much different than what you put together.
There was a lot of feedback. There weren't a lot of calendars submitted, but there was a lot of feedback, and we were able to put together some different possibilities on the calendar.
I feel like it was well received, so I appreciate you taking the time. I know there's probably a lot of extra effort on your guys' end to do it that way, but I felt like the feedback that I got from the teachers that I talked to about it was positive. Like,
Good.
they appreciated it. So.
And I appreciate you compressing all of that feedback into a tangible calendar. I mean, whenever you sent the template to make my own calendar, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. It was way too much time. I'm sure you're more used to creating these than I am, but thank you for taking the time to put forth two very different options in my mind.
Yeah.
The next item, on the agenda is the superintendent evaluation tool.
Yeah, I included that. I've gone through and made some revisions. I'll just turn it over to you.
Yeah, so this is kind of a product of, we brought this up a couple months ago, and we want to get this tool in place. To kind of better, a more thorough job of thinking throughout the school year of how we can judge the job that our superintendent, whether it's John or anybody else that comes in afterwards, on how they're performing in their position. So we did have a work session with the board, had a lot of good conversation about what we as a board feel like is appropriate to see on what's important as we looked at John's position in the different areas of improvement and things that we need to establish, not just one time a year, but throughout the years, similar to how we do with students, and make sure we're seeing progress in areas we want to see progress in, keeping everything in line with our CSIP as well is very important. So this is a new tool that the board will be using. John has updated it based on that workshop we did. So I'd encourage the board members to review it, make sure it has everything you had in mind when you had that conversation. If there's anything you see that we missed, would like to get added to it, or amend it, whatever edits you want, or feel the need for, reach out and let us know, and we will eventually get to a point. I think the cycle in it starts in February, is that correct? So,
If we can approve it next month, then that would give us plenty of time to work through what those goals would be starting
to kick the cycle off. So,
That was, the question I had was in regards to the goals. So instructional and maintenance have 2 goals input. Will those be the goals for this coming year, or are those just like a sample?
That was just a sample.
Okay. Thank you.
I just appreciate the benchmarks that are built into it. So at any given time, just from the superintendent's perspective, I can benchmark myself in April or August. I'm not always having, you can kind of tell at any point throughout the year how the evaluation is going to go because the data is collected.
yeah, that component is important. There's nothing else on that. We will move to the next item, which is here for, I think, special education, special Olympics.
Turn it over to John.
The students are actually going to lead this. They just want to say thank you.
Alright, we're first gonna go through and they're gonna say their favorite thing about Special Olympics. Warren, do you wanna start? His partner. His partner is his favorite part. And look at all his medals.
Amazing.
Draven?
My friends.
Seeing your friends. Catherine?
I like winning gold medals.
Winning gold. Did you get a lot of golds this year?
Not yet.
Brooklyn, you wanna go? What was your favorite part this year? Was it getting medals?
Throwing the ball?
Yeah.
What other part?
Getting my face painted.
I'm getting your face. Good face painting.
All right, major. They, and these last two did, yeah.
So that is our Young Athlete Program. So for our YAP participants, they haven't quite reached the 8-year-old requirement. So we did different activities at McCreary out on the playground. Major, you want to tell them what your favorite activity was?
Baseball.
Baseball. Okay. Benson, what was your favorite activity at YAP?
This is your turn to talk about it, remember?
And everything, okay. So you're really obstacle course and everything.
Ronnie Finn, he is a senior this year, and he couldn't be here. He was here earlier, but he got sick. And he said that his favorite part was Unified Partners.
Kelsey and I are slightly disappointed that nobody said the hot dog.
Oh,
man.
We might have to Thank you so much.
No, there was
Do we open them now or we wait?
You can open them now.
You were on there. I missed it. Thank you very much.
It's like Christmas. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much. Thanks, Graham. Outstanding.
No, what?
Thank you guys very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you guys.
All right, action items. Let's talk about the 2023-24 district audit.
Mr. Van Carey is here for our auditors to enlighten you.
Yes, you guys picked the hardest act for me to follow. That's good that you guys bring them in, spend time on that, and have other, all the other events. It's very interesting to see. John Mitchell, my name is Ben Carrier. I'm a CPA partner with GKC. We did the audit for the school district this year, and just want to go over the results briefly with you. So first, before I get into the results, just wanted to thank John and Kat. There you go, you moved on me. They put a lot of work into this on their side, getting together the information that we need. It's quite a long list. It's a heavy couple of days of going through different requests and lots of questions, and they worked with us with professionalism and helped us get through our audit procedure. So I appreciate all the help that they've given us. I've given copies of the audit report that you can peruse, if you have any questions, but I will go through just a brief summary of that. First, with the opinion on the financial statements, we gave an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion that you can get. That means, in our opinion, that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. We also conducted a single audit in addition to our regular financial statement audit, which is required when you spend over $750,000 of federal funds. I'll get into the results of that in just a moment. Going through the report, after you see that opinion, you'll see some government-wide financials and then some governmental financials, just to highlight a couple things there. Overall, your cash went down by about $2.2 million this year, but that's primarily because of continued spending on capital projects. The actual operating fund balance as a percentage of your expenditures is at 54%. Last year's 53%, year before that was 54%. We consider anything over 25% to be a healthy fund balance, so the school's in a healthy financial shape. Beyond that, it gets into different ancillary statements and footnotes. Those footnotes are largely the same as last year. They just provide some more color around different items you might see, on the actual balance sheet and income statement, but nothing significant to point out there. Next, getting into towards the back of the report, there are DESE required schedules, specifically something called a schedule of selected statistics. This is specific information and tests that DESE is interested in seeing. We went in and did all those tests like we do for all schools, and we noted in our compliance report that the school complied with the requirements, except that, as noted, there's just a couple of findings here. The first finding that we had was that the school's deposits were underpledged as of January 31st, 24 and June 30th, 2024. What that means is that banks are required to keep several
separate pledges when balances exceed the FDIC limits at a bank. And so the bank is required to keep those securities pledged at a fair market value equal to or exceeding the deposits that are at the bank. And in the 2 months that we test, the school was underpledged, so the bank was underpledged of their deposits. Talking with Kat, the reasons for that, feel free to jump in if you'd like, but it sounded like there were some new investments added during the year, and the bank had not picked those up in terms of their monthly, tracking of making sure that the school was appropriately pledged. It's one of these things where, the ultimate responsibility lies with the school, but the bank, as a service provider, should be, making sure that the school complies with that. Any questions about that one?
How much was it? What was it?
Roughly, it was under $1 million for each of the months. I think it was in the hundreds of, like 600,000, something like that. It fluctuated, and I think it was because, there were some new CDs added during the year that just weren't picked up on the report. Okay, the next finding that we have, there's core data reporting. One of the core data that was segments that's reported is employee salary data. In 7 of the 28 employees that we tested, where we take the contracts and match that to the core data that's reported to DESE, we found that the employee contracts did not match the core data. The reason for that, we understand, was that incorrect salary information was transferred from the payroll system. This was a finding last year. I think there was only one case of that last year. In the case 7 out of 28, there was a mismatch. That's it for scheduled selected statistics. Then we get into internal control report and uniform guidance or single audit report. The findings on that, first is segregation or lack of segregation of duties. This is a perennial finding. We talked a little bit about this last year. We see it on 95% of schools, so it's not something overly concerning, but just something that we have to point out. And then the other one was on the single audit. There was a construction project where federal funds were spent. When there's a construction project, with federal funds spent, there's a requirement to include prevailing wage clauses in those contracts. And in one instance, we noted that there was a contract with Cat Excavation Inc. where the prevailing wage clause was not included. And the contractor did not pay prevailing wages as required by the federal government. However, on identification of the issue, the company elected to correct the employees' wages and paid in the appropriate prevailing wages. We found that this was an isolated incident, but just as a reminder for any federal spending that prevailing wage clauses need to be included. At the end of the report, there's a couple, you'll see several reports from us. There's an audit communications letter at the very end, which kind of encapsulates everything that I've talked about today. Overall, the audit went well. Appreciate the opportunity to work with you. I think we're doing this a month earlier than last year, and so I think this is our 3rd year doing this and continue to have a good working relationship and get through our procedures timely. With that, thanks for your time. Any other questions for me?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next item, consent.
Yes.
I need a motion for approval of the 2023-24 district audit. Favor? Carried. Next action item is the curriculum handbook.
Megan. Last month, it was a discussion item for updates to our curriculum handbook, so this month looking for an approval for that. Updates were presented, they were highlighted. Lots of definitions in there, the processes of how we want to strengthen, to evaluate our curriculum that is used in our classrooms.
Anyone have any questions on that? If not, I need a motion for approval of the curriculum handbook. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, the enhancement grant, agriculture education.
Okay, included in your packet is information, so this skid steer was included in the enhancement grant application you approved back in February. Due to the price, it's back for approval, purchase. Mr. Collins did a lot of work, all the work, contacting vendors and getting bids and specs and everything put together on this. Of the 7 contacted, 5 returned bids. The recommendation is to accept the $82,000 ag power bid for the 331P John Deere skid loader. The low bid was incomplete because it did not have all the attachments, and it was also a lower horsepower machine than what was expected. So making ag power the best.
You need a place to run that around. Just come on out. Go move some hay or something.
What kind of plans did you have for it?
Well, we, currently we have the landscaping class, which is a class you guys approved 2 years ago. And we've been working over at central office right now, but we'd be using it in that class. I think the biggest highlight for us will be in the shop, being able to use it in the shop to move heavy materials. I won't tell you how many times I think maybe I could have been safer moving something if we had that machine. This summer, we had a student that built a 40-foot hay trailer, and I don't know how many times we turned it over with a chain and an A-frame, so it'll definitely be an improvement to us to have.
Was there any difference in the machine from Murphy equipment? It looks like it's the same John Deere 331P. Was there any differences that factored that big difference?
Pretty much the same bid. They worked really hard to spec it exactly the same, and Ag Power wants to do the business with us.
Okay.
Thanks for putting this all together.
Yeah.
It's excellent.
Thank you.
Congrats.
I think it'd be great for the kids.
It'll be a nice improvement.
I just want to thank Mr. Collins because the time that it takes to put an enhancement grant together is tremendous. I appreciate the
I
time you
appreciate
took.
that, and I couldn't do it without Kat. Kat and I work really close on it, and high school admin also, and your guys' support has been great. We've seen the results of these enhancement grants. This is our second one, and as you know, we're moved to a multi-teacher department, and enrollment's more than triple what it was 3 years ago, and we're seeing the results of these funds that are being spent.
And FFA is at the middle school now too.
And this year, we are at the middle school, so
That's awesome.
I'm pretty excited. The kids are loving that.
We want to thank him every chance we get him in here, so continue to do good work for us.
Yes.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is that all grades at the middle school?
I think just eighth
I think it's
grade.
just eighth
Yeah.
grade.
Yeah.
They got their hunter safety course.
They just did,
It's
and
awesome.
we'll be back to see you about posting hunter safety here in Odessa soon.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, I need a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion, second. All in favor? Motion carried. And with that, I need a motion to conduct a closed executive session, including any record vote, at the next scheduled meeting pursuant to statutes contained in chapter 610.021 RSC.
Second.
All in favor? Roll call?
Aye.
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 And aye. And now I need a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?